is our 8th one of these. We're back with BlackJadedWolf UnCaged, easily my favorite episode. And from the comments we get, everyone's favorite episode. So welcome back. How you doing?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Back from Cali.
That's it. And listen, this is going to be a fun one today because you spent a long weekend at the Burbank show. And I get a lot of DMs saying, when are you doing the episode? We know she was there. We want to hear what happened at Burbank. So I'm going to just turn it over and say, tell me what happened at Burbank. Give me the highlights, the lowlights. Tell me anything you want to tell me about Burbank. Because sitting on my hands, looking at it on Instagram, I got to tell you, I talked about it in an episode with Andrew. He's like, I don't have FOMO for anything. I'm like, I really missed going. It really looked like a good time. It looked like maybe I'll find a flight, tonight and not tell my family. Just fly out, just hang out. I really missed not being there. So was it as cool as it looked on IG?
It was it's a lot of fun for me. I have a lot of friends and, people that I've known through the years that don't come to the East Coast show. So they welcome me there. So I first mama break, after I landed, put my stuff away and we hit it right there. We went to Burbank, we went to Burbank, and we went to
a little dance. I could do a little dance for you. That's all right. No worries. Usually it's me with the audio issues.
Yeah. So we went to a place called Frank's and Sons. So it's like a big, flea market, but with tons of cards too, and people set up their cards, but it's every twice a week and stuff like that. So it was very cool. It was 24 hours. I basically didn't sleep, but because I had a 3 o'clock, I woke up at 3 o'clock, flew for 8 hours, and then hit the show running, and then I didn't go to bed till the next day at 2 o'clock in Cali. So,
listen, you talk about burning the candle on both ends. That Franks and Sons, that I've seen that, a lot of people go out there. It looks really cool. Were you able to find it? Because you have some obscure collecting tastes as well. Everything from Game of Thrones to Funkos to vinyls and all kinds of crazy stuff. Sneakers.
So that's what I was actually looking for, because there was tons of Game of Thrones stuff. So I've been I bought a big collection, so now I'm trying to buy some bigger ones, to kind of complete the collection and stuff like that. I found some. I bought some boxes to open. It was a lot of fun. So that's only the first.
That's the first couple minutes.
Yeah, that's it. First day, basically.
And we'll give some credit to Stephanie. Listen, the teacher, right?
Yep.
She knows, and she's brought the kids stuff in and gone out, shows and does kids scavenger hunts at shows and does, kids breaks. And, a lot of people can say, look, we need products for kids. We need this for kids. She has, at least as far as I can see from, outsider looking in, has done more for bringing kids into the equation than anybody that I've seen. So, kudos to her, that's must have been fun.
She's definitely doing great in that aspect. And she's also very welcoming, great with kids. So Saturday is basically just a whole day of kids session with her, trade night. It's a whole day thing. And it was a lot of fun. We were both, I didn't have time, obviously, because I'm in my booth. I flew in by myself. Let's go back to Thursday, set up, the VIP night.
I'm going to take you right on the track before VIP night, because that's what everybody wants to hear about. We want to hear about popping bottles with Sharon. We want to hear about the big party. But before that, right? So we talk about this because this is a show about the shows. How do you prep for the Burbank show that might be different from how you prepped for Culture Collision or how you prepped for the local show? So what did you bring differly? Talk about the prep leading up to it, and then we'll get you right. I promise we'll get to the champagne room, the VIP party.
I actually like that because, a lot of the positive that I hear about the show is what a dealer thinks and how I prep. So it's good that you kind of brought me back there. So because I only went there by myself, I only brought higher end stuff, because some people are telling me it's kind of like a Dallas show, higher end buyers and stuff like that. So I'm going to tell you, I brought bigger stuff like Herbert, Mahomes. I actually I haven't brought that Hertz out, one black 1 of 1 for a while, but I brought it out just because it's kind of like a Super Bowl show, and stuff like that.
Any big offers on that? Anybody make a big cash offer on that? No.
Well, I know there was one guy, but let's not.
No, all right.
It's okay. So basically, I prep basically all the bigger stuff, and I'm gonna be honest with you. So sometimes we learn,
Hmm.
and I learned that I did very well. I'm just saying that because if you don't do well and you're a dealer, that means it's not the promoter's fault because there was literally a lot of people, and it's people are calling it the mini national. Some people are saying better than Dallas. I don't like to compare, and stuff like that, but they said foot traffic is better.
Okay.
But my only thing is, I don't know, this is just me because
Shoot.
I'm only telling my side. More people were buying 2000 and below cards.
Okay. Right.
So I didn't do that well on that aspect because I didn't bring that much of those. But I also, knowing that people are buying those, I also bought them and then put them back out for the weekend. And I did sell those. So anything that I kind of bought, I sold. So,
So
so
let's piece that
sometimes you
out for
have
the folks who are not like dealers, the people like me, the people who listen to the show. So
Yep.
you went there, you planned it out. And sometimes
Mhm.
if you plan the show the right way, you can make a killing.
Yeah.
But you planned this out sort of more Dallas-y, where you brought some more high-end $5, $10, $15,000 cards. You brought your
Mhm.
RPAs, you brought your Herberts out of storage because you
Yep.
hadn't had the Herberts for a while. But you got there and you noticed that the deal flow was actually in a lower tranche. It was actually $2,000 and less. So you went and actively purchased cards at the show
Yep. Mhm.
to resell, and were able to do that. Do
Yep.
me a favor for the folks,
Mhm.
including myself, who this sounds ridiculous to, right? Tell me how that happens. Are you buying cards from people who approach your table? Are you going around and picking up massive lots of these cards from other dealers? Talk to me.
So I do both.
Mhm.
So most of the time, I'm the type that will just sit on my table and wait for people to sell you.
Okay.
But if you notice this show, it was insane. There's so many buying booths. I was literally across Burbank, and they're paying a good percentile that there was a line around their Burbank big booth just trying to sell to them.
Wow.
And then there's also other tables that are doing that. So I have a few lines, but I also don't have, I only have one table I don't have a big sign on TV that says I'm buying.
Yeah.
So I have to basically pivot and work a little harder and maybe walk a little in the show, pick up stuff that I think I could sell in the show, because at some point people won't stop in your booth if they notice that you don't have anything around that price range. So you want to pick a few and scatter them around your showcase that maybe, okay, they might be looking at that $1,000 card, but oh, maybe I'll trade for this $5,000 card because they saw it.
Mhm.
So so it's not just the purpose of buying that card that I just bought and then sell it, basically. It's more like to attract some people in your booth that might not be looking for $10,000 card.
Right.
So, so that's what I did. And I sold those cards, and I sold a few cards that probably I wouldn't have sold if I just, brought all big cards, basically.
So
So
you
many
walk
people.
around and you go to other tables, or you walk around and you find other people looking to sell? Like when you walk and leave a booth, where are you finding these $2,000 cards?
Well, boots, basically. I'm not the type that,
You're not
poach
sniping.
other people's customer. Yeah. To me, that's like an etiquette thing, in the old shows that you don't like, oh, that's a good one when somebody's showing it to other dealers. No, that's bad. Don't do that.
I've taught my son that at shows because you'll
Mhm.
see people at the table with their Zion case, with their box open, and they're offering it to a dealer. And
Yep.
my son, I remember 3 years ago, he's like, "Well, look, he's got that card. That's one we're looking for." I said, "Listen, this is why the dealers pay for their table. That deal
Mhm.
flow that comes in, that's what they're paying for. They get the right of first refusal." And then smartly, I think he was 5 at the time. He says, "So if the dealer says no, can we then talk to them?" I said, "Actually,
Yes. Mhm.
you have to see where they're going. Because if they go to the next table, the next dealer should get the option to get it too. I mean, it's another
Yeah.
dealer. They're walking table to table. I don't step in front of any of these dealers
Yeah.
because that's what the dealers are paying for the table for. It's not just to be able to
Mhm.
unload their cards. It's a lot of people don't do that.
No,
We'll
but
meet them
they
out
are.
by the snack area. It's like if they're
Yep.
sitting there with their stuff and they're not
So
over.
that's the
Okay,
thing. There's an area for that now, which is
yep,
great. And that's what trade night's for too.
yep, yep.
So, but there are a few more people that are literally hanging on my boot talking to me, but really that's their goal, is
Yes.
to.
So Sharon,
But
I'm gonna peel this back. This might be a little bit of a longer episode because I think this is really fun. It's learning
Mhm.
for me, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I try to ask what I think somebody listening to this would ask. And it's okay, so you have a line of people who are trying to sell cards to Burbank. So to
Mhm.
me, that gives me the impression that this is a lot of customers coming in to liquidate, right? When
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
see that and you think to yourself, all right, well, I need to go and buy cards from dealers here that I can resell. Now,
Mhm.
something in my brain, it's difficult for me to compute that because if we have lines of people trying to liquidate their cards, they must be selling them to Burbank or to somebody else at 75, 80% of comps. And if there's
Mhm.
those people looking out there to liquidate, you then are going to have to pay some other dealer a number that's low enough for you to then bring it back to your table and find somebody who's going to pay more for you to make money on it to make it worthwhile. How does that all kind of jive, right? Talk to me.
So I also don't pay if I go to a dealer. I'm never gonna offer them that low, to be honest with you,
Right.
because I they know that you're in a compromising spot. That's why you're going and buying.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So I usually offer like around 80 or maybe 85 if it's a card I really want. If
Mm-hmm.
it's cheaper stuff and let's say some people are not buying those stuff, or I might buy stuff that I want to bring back just in case I don't sell it this weekend. I'm gonna bring it back to New York and it
Okay.
will
Okay.
sell.
That's
It's like
good.
Aaron Judge is not gonna sell there that much as long, I mean, in New York it will sell.
Right.
So I'm also always thinking two ways as a backup. What are my next few shows? Let's say I buy some Boston stuff because I know I'm going to Boston next month. That
You have
sort of thing.
multiple exits on these cards
Yes,
also, so you're
you
picking stuff
gotta
up.
think. There's always thinking involved.
Yeah. Well, I
So.
mean, because I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, like, all right, well, if people are trying to liquidate their cards at 75%, go
Yeah.
ahead, shoot.
But let me go back to that.
Yeah.
So a lot of those people that I saw that was in the table liquidating,
Mhm.
after they get that money, they also walk around buying again.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out. Obviously, we don't know. I know one guy sold a bunch of stuff and came back and bought one of my big not Game of Thrones, but non-sports cards.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that was fascinating to me. So I noticed in this show, so many dealers came up to me like, "Oh, I'm just buying a Pokemon right now."
Yep.
So, and then, I had this discussion. A friend of mine came up and asked me, do you think it has an impact that you talked about the last three show in our show that,
Yep.
people are buying non-sport and it's really gaining a lot of momentum. I didn't bring a lot of non-sports because like I told you, I collect them still.
Yep. Yep.
So I have a few that doubles for me, that I put it out. But next to me is Jeff's card, and he used to have like a small half a showcase of non-sport. But this show he came in with like two showcase, and he only has three showcase of non-sport, and he was busy.
That's collectors. I'm buying
Yes,
Goonies autographs. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, come on now. I mean, I make money on the sports cards. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy myself a chunk auto.
exactly. It's like
Transformers. I mean, look. I mean, come on. This is the non-sport stuff, right? I mean, I
people are
get you.
actually buying stuff that they collect now because of, so they're using sports card to make money to buy something they want,
And
which
Pokemon,
is,
my son's
yep,
case, you know that big gold case he walks around, he's trying to do like
yep,
sport. It is now 90% Pokemon cards. We just got back a PSA thing from
hmm,
last year, the Pokemon special, and
yep,
it's all Pokemon cards, and he's gonna get the tens and some
yep.
nine. Charizard, nice Charizard gets a 9. He'll put that in a separate row. Also, he'll dump down to a 9. But it's all Pokemon. It's all shiny, fun stuff.
So that's my thinking too. Does that mean sports is, it's a scary if you're just all sports, because to me, people are gambling less and they're afraid to lose their money right now. I mean, if the economy maybe moves up a little bit better, Bitcoin,
Yeah.
maybe they'll gamble again. But right now, people want a little bit safer stuff,
So here's
basically.
one thing I know that happens that you are not going to toot your own horn. You're not going to ring your own bell. So I'll do it for you and tell me if I'm right. Part of why you're able to do this, even though the overall ecology of the show, you look at people are trying to liquidate, they're trying to sell. You have to now navigate and be nimble because you have high dollar cards, and you're not going to sell them. You're able to go and buy from other people. Is it fair to say that you spend a little bit of time at your table taking in what the demand is And you learn not just, hey, my $10,000 cards are not moving, but people keep coming and asking for the same players. Maybe they're asking for Mookie Betts because it's out there. Maybe they're asking for Freddie Freeman. You listen to that stuff, and then you're able to now pay 80 or 85% to a dealer who has a card that you know this is going to be something people are asking for because you spent the first day there being asked for it yourself and not having it. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. You have to learn and pivot. It's like playing any game. You need to see what people are asking for, and then kind of give them that, because if not, you're just gonna be standing there like a museum. And I don't mind some of the stuff taking them back home. Obviously, they're not, doesn't mean they're dropping and they don't want them. It's just people want something different. And to start a conversation, you got to have some of those stuff just to start a conversation. So to me, that's always been very important to me. You can't just have, oh, I have really nice big cards, and they're gonna, oh, that's nice, and then walk away. But at least, oh, one thing I notice is people come by my booth and look at the good cards, but it's like they're asking me, oh, do you have anything like of Mookie Betts, like you said, of $400-500 range? At least they're having that conversation. Maybe they can't afford the 5,000 Mookie Betts that I put out. Maybe, and they'll ask you. And then if you do, hey, yes, this, I have one, and
and you move it. If not, then that's what you're looking for, because you know what people have been asking for. So that makes sense to me. And that, by the way, we talked about this, Andrew and I, recently, when I would say, like, not every show is the same. And why I love doing this show with you is because I get to a feel on how the shows are different, how you prep for the shows differently, what the kind of the, I don't call it the aura of the show is, but what the energy, what's going on at these shows. Because, I mean, you, like me, you see some of our local shows here in the Northeast, right? And some dealers literally show up with the same inventory for 12 shows a year. There's no refreshing the inventory. There's no nothing. And sometimes I leave some of my local shows, I'll have a box of Pokemon or something for Ian to open, or, some wax that's recent, but I'll leave and I'll be in the car thinking to myself, why do I even go to this? Like, I know the cards that are going to be in the showcases before I even go. It's just the same dealers hoping, I guess, that new foot traffic comes and churns their inventory for them rather than them churning the inventory themselves. So it's great for me to talk to you and hear, not only are you refreshing your inventory by show, by what you think the show's going to be, but we've talked 8 times now, and you've been right. I know what I'm bringing to Boston. I know what I'm bringing to Dallas. This is a Burbank show that's new. And you planned on bringing something, but then when you got there, you had to get up out of your seat and not rest on what you had in your showcase. You had to find a way to refresh your own inventory to make it a positive show for you. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's not just about selling. It's more like you want to start conversation with people, and people are not going to come back to you. Like you said, it's like if your shows, you keep having the same thing. I mean, I have higher end stuff, but every show I rotate the big cards. I don't always bring the same cards. You can't, because it's kind of like a show. You don't want to keep showing the same thing. People are not going to come to your booth. So it's very important to keep them fresh, basically.
100% right.
I watch ESPN. Who's hot right now? Bring the hot guys. That's just very easy, in my opinion. So
right, there's the deal. I know where you are, know your location, and the whole. I mean, heck, bring some In and Out. Put it at the table, and hey, anybody who spends over $1,000 gets an In and Out burger, Animal, Peace Pie, whatever they call it. I've never had In and Out. Did you get In and Out? Make me jealous.
No, so I was so close. So a bunch of us from the East Coast, Jeff and people I hang out with, we're gonna order In and Out before so every night there's a trade night, and it was just long. I don't do trade nights because it's just too long. So we were gonna get In and Out before the trade night, and I got invited to a women's dinner, so I went to the women's dinner instead. But
so was Brian Gray from Leaf at the women's dinner?
No, it's all women.
Yeah, but wasn't he on like a Women of the Hobby panel, right? Was it a Beckett Summit or something like that?
Yep.
So, that's funny.
He was a woman's friend and supporter.
Listen, I mean, I like that. I like seeing all, because that's an expansion. That's something that would not have happened pre-COVID. It's not something that there was no Women of the Hobby, Women in the Hobby. There was no like real focus on let's do a scavenger hunt for kids. There was no kids trade night. I mean, those expansions, I think, are all good things. Those are
Yep.
very good things because look, you need to support folks in the hobby. You need to support the kids in the hobby. You want kids to come to your show because guess what?
Yep.
They're bringing their parents, right? That's the future of the hobby, and it's also current in the hobby.
Yep.
You want women in the hobby. So what's funny about it is I think about it this way. You're seeing a rise in non-sport. You're seeing Game of Thrones, you name it, pop culture type stuff. I believe because of the diversity that we're seeing in the hobby, because we are now supporting a diverse, audience in the hobby, both from collector base and dealer base.
Yep.
That's why you're seeing a more diverse type of cards being available, and why you're seeing business being done on non-sport, right?
No, definitely. It's like a lot of them are like, oh, I'm gonna buy this for my wife, stuff like that. And now some of the wife comes to show too and stuff like, and they're like, oh, they want to buy something for themselves now too, which is, that's what we want, And
one of my better sales last year was a Chip and Joanna Gaines dual auto. From like the reality show where they do the houses and stuff. I was like, this is what it is. I mean, it was at a 10. It was like, I'm selling this. I don't even like this show.
It's like Rick and Morty, so popular. I'm like, yeah. People, because they have sketch card and autograph cards too. They're very popular.
I mean, I love that. So talk to me. So you Thursday, Friday, any other crazy, like talk to me about, people love the deal flow, right? Any card that you sold that you were surprised you sold, any card that came to you, whether it's, to fill in a PC, somebody who walked into the show was just foot traffic and you're like, wow, I wasn't expecting to pick this up. Any kind of like interesting stories?
I sold a lot of people asked for Trevor Lawrence because I think they're expecting him to be hot next year, and he's still like half of Burrow and half of all the Herbert type of thing. So a lot of people asked for Trevor, but like I said, my biggest sale was my Big Bang Theory Top One Coco. So this collector is not really, it's never seen the show, but he's collecting and buying female autograph for his daughter.
Okay.
So he's creating a PC. The daughter is only 3 years old.
Wow.
But literally trading like Mallory Pugh of, soccer, one of the hottest young girl in soccer. So, I mean, there are parents that's already thinking for their kids, buying WNBA cards for their daughter, which is very exciting to encounter. A lot of dads are thinking of that now, which is fascinating, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's one of my biggest sale. But another thing for sports is people are asking for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander finally.
SGA, okay. There we go. He's having a good year.
I mean, so, and
you sell anything decent of SGA?
Yeah, I don't bring a lot of SGA because I keep most of my big SGA, but I decided to bring one because he's very popular still in California, for the west side of the country at least. So I sold a Cracked Ice, basically Contender, which is one of my weaker one because I have a ton. I have like 3 golds, Prism Auto. I have Optic Auto Gold. So I decided to part with one just to test it out, and it was sold. So
any with the NBA trade deadline, any cards move because of that? Have you seen any movement in pricing? Anybody asking, like, you were out in the West. I mean, it's closer to Phoenix. Anybody looking for Durant cards because of the trade? Chris Paul, anything like that?
Not really. I thought there was going to be some movement with that, and Kyrie too. So I brought some Kyrie to the West just in case, I think people are still trying to see how it will work. Even Durant, I brought a couple of Durant just in case. But there was not a lot of traction. I think people are still in a holding pattern and see how it will work out,
Okay. So listen, I don't want to turn it into like, Barstool Pizza stuff. We haven't done this in the first 8 episodes, right? But maybe I gotta hold your feet to the fire on this, and we'll start it with episode 8. We can give a show a 1 to 10, and you could do like with 10 to per point. Like it could be 7.2, it could be 8.1, it could be, and it would be a nice way of ranking these shows. So 1 to 10. Talk to me about Burbank show, overall experience, the trade nights, the support for the dealers, the foot traffic, all the things that go into, what you'd rank as a show. Give me a rating from 1 to 10.
People might call this tough, but I'm like around 8 or 8.5.
Okay.
Because to me, I don't think anybody is a 10 yet, because I'm just that.
I'm gonna call it an
I don't
8.2.
easily.
That way we have something to measure against going forward. 8.2.
Exactly.
All right. That's fine.
8.2, because the crowd was great. I think the hosts were a little bit, just a little bit. I know them very well. It's not meant as a negative criticism, but it's something to work on. The loading in was like tough because to get your badge, it was like almost 2 hour wait.
Wow. For the
Yeah,
dealers to get their badges was 2 hours.
yeah, it was a little not disorganized, but I think they didn't. So they wanted to print. It was good intention. They wanted to print your name on the tag and give it to you, but the printing process, they only have one printer. It took a long time, basically.
With everyone
So
getting there at the same time, and
so
that's
there's still
interesting.
some small like glitches, obviously, but I think overall the crowd is great. There's high end buyer, but there's also tons of kids because they promote all those stuff. And the trade night, where I think was done well.
You got to do better
Um,
with getting you your badges. So now let's talk about something you saw there. I'm hoping there's something different, something that's different, something that they did there that you're like, okay, this was a nice touch. This was something they added on that I hadn't seen at another show. Anything?
one thing I like is it's not something new. Obviously, for national, they always do it, but I love the experience of having the card grader encapsulating there. Tag was there. Tag's booth was so impressive. It's like, I don't know, never seen that. Even PSA it's like not even close. The
Really?
tag was just out there. They have this amazing booth. I wish I took some pictures, but
They had some
it,
robots, right? They were like robot people.
yeah,
Looked like
it
Squid
was it
Games.
was really fascinating.
I was scared.
Yeah, and then so that's different. I think a lot of experience. So some people that don't go to nationals, wow, they're grading here.
Yeah.
That. So that, I think, if it could be offered more, will be great.
Who
But
else graded on site? Was Beckett?
um,
Beckett was grading, right?
Beckett was on site,
Were they
and
busy?
Beckett line was always busy. And they did it for the whole through weekend except Sunday, basically. But they were very busy encapsulating there. And PSA was encapsulating the first day, but they were taking submissions. So I think those are the new trend that's gonna happen. I think in Mint coming up, they're encapsulating there, so they expect a very busy show.
So, I mean, just to kind of follow on that one, if Beckett or Tag are encapsulating during the show, do you see more people coming up to you at the show with like a freshly graded Beckett, like, hey, can you trade this, buy this, or are
Yep.
you seeing more deal
Oh,
flow
there
with
was
that?
there was a lot of that this weekend. The weekend that passed. So a lot of people that bought something from us went to grade it and got one of them got a black label.
Wow.
Daisy Ridley, whatever, autograph when he was so ecstatic.
You had a
Somebody
raw,
offered
you
it.
saw the raw in the showcase, and they graded it
Yeah,
black
and
label.
I
Wow.
think it was 500. Jeff sold it, and now people are offering him like $4,000 or something. So
See,
I
the
mean,
grading
it's good.
companies need to know that's the kind of stuff that happens at the shows when the graders are there. And I know it's a huge lift. I know it's a
Mhm.
heavy lift for the graders to be there, but it creates liquidity at shows that's great
Yep,
for everyone involved, right? Somebody buys a
it's
raw card and they grade it.
yeah,
Sure, now the grading company's making money for the grading, but
yep.
also if it's a good grade, if they get look at that card you're talking about, $500 to $4,000. Now, if that person
And
sells it,
sometimes you could get a deal because of that. Obviously some people don't know how to price and they will price it super high. But sometimes you could create a bidding situation, because the card is fresh out of the pack and it's the first gem or whatever. I mean, you could get two dealers, or what are you paying for this type of thing. So it creates a different type of activity that they used to have it more a few years ago before pandemic, and now it's starting to come back. So just good.
yeah, I love it. So that's it. On-site grading was good. I think the next Burbank show is in August, I think, in
Yeah,
California, which is
I think it's Labor Day
Labor Day.
weekend or something.
That's the Super Bowl weekend,
Definitely
Labor Day
going,
weekend.
definitely going back. So
Yeah, you'll be there. All right. I don't know. That's a tough week for me. It's the week between
yeah, it's about to
camp
go back to
and go
school.
back to school and
Yep.
stuff like that. So we'll see. I'll think about it. But usually I'm on vacation that week. So if I could finagle Disneyland instead of Disney World, then I could just stop right over. That's
So
kind
a
of
lot of people did that. So
a lot of people do it.
whoever takes their full family, you could do it the week before. I think you could work your magic.
That's it. We'll try our best. Okay, so what's the next show you're going to?
I actually decided to take a couple of week off because there's a lot of meeting lined up. I would prefer that right now.
Yep.
Kind of rest up a little because at the end of February to almost first week of April, it's like 6 straight weekend of
Yep.
shows.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take the next 2 weeks as my break and then focus on
So I know
March.
the end of February is Westchester, the White Plains. You're probably
Yep.
doing that one, right?
hmm
The last week
Yep.
of February.
hmm
And then I don't know if it's the first weekend or the second weekend
The second weekend is
Philly.
Dallas. So I'm
Philly.
doing Dallas, and half my team is doing Philly.
Okay. All right. I think I'm going to
And
Philly
yeah,
because I think Tyrese Maxey's going to be there. I want to introduce Ian. I want to
I
bring
know, me
Ian.
too. So I actually have a couple of cards that it's gonna be signed. I want to get signed by Maxi and Devonta Smith. I think is gonna be there too. Some of the
A lot of
Eagles.
Eagles there last time. I got
Yeah,
like Quez
no
Watkins was
hurts.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no hurts. But Devonta, some of the top guys are there.
that'd be kind of
And
cool.
yeah, and then after that, I'm debating Chicago is after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before Mint.
Yep. Before Mint, no, a week before Mint even. No, the second week, and then it's Union Market, which I might
Wow.
skip. It's just too
You
much.
should take some time off. Happy
Yeah,
Valentine's Day to you a day late. I should have started the show off with that. I apologize.
that's true.
Well, listen,
And then after that, it's Mint,
it's
and Mint is also at the same time as a Chantilly.
Chantilly, yeah.
Yeah, so half my team is gonna be in Chantilly, and I'm gonna be in Mint. So
I mean, there's a lot of shows. That's a lot of shows. How you gonna have any inventory left?
that's because I also sell outside of shows, so that's gonna be tough. But we'll see. We
All
could
right.
buy. See, you got to pivot. You got to buy then.
There you go. So I'll leave it with this because we just crossed over a half hour. We like to keep them about that time. It's you get to see a lot more of the hobby than most people do, and probably more than 90% of the people who are listening to this. You get to see the Instagram version. You get to you get a lot of messages. You get to see what's going on social media, but then you get out there to almost every show, right?
Mm-mm.
And give me kind of like a 1 minute. I'll shut up. Tell the folks who are listening what you think about the momentum the hobby has now, kind of where the hobby is going. Andrew and I talked about like this is January, February sort of like a head fake for the hobby. Is this like a little bit of one of these like you're seeing it go up, but then it's going to drop kind of head fake? Or, you've seen the energy, you've talked to people out there. What are your thoughts?
Um, the first month is really great. I mean, if this is a sign, then it's good. But we also need to be aware that baseball is about to come up. So I'm like, oh, people are gonna drop. People are saying, oh, it's gonna drop in the next 2 months. But I feel like there's a lot of momentum with baseball too. Start of baseball. That's why I love this hobby because every month people are anticipating down, but there's always something new that will pick it back up. So that means you also need to be flexible. If all your inventory is in football, maybe it's time to pivot a little to baseball. And then after baseball starts, usually it goes back down. And then now you need to focus on playoff basketball. And now you got to start buying. You don't want to buy before playoff. You want to buy a month before playoff. So now you got to focus on that. And then after that, it's nationals time. Summer is baseball again, all-star. So there's always a roller coaster, and you just got to learn the wave and when to buy and when to sell. And to me, I understand the dip, but I think if you plan it well, you will ride. It's not all dip. There's going to be up and down, and you got to take advantage when it's up, basically.
You know what I hear from that? I hear most people who get into the hobby or who've gotten in the last couple of years, they don't mind riding the ride, right? But they ride the ride and they think, I'm going to ride the roller coaster one time, and I'm going to see the up and the down, and I'm going to buy here and I'm going to sell here. I'm going to buy and then I'm going to sell it as it goes up, and it's one quick roller coaster ride where I can leave after that ride. I'll get my picture, smiling, and make my profit. You literally never get off the roller coaster.
Never.
That's the difference. You're always riding it and you're watching. I know there's a dip coming here, so I'm going to buy baseball now. I'm going to sell my baseball now. I'm going to get out of baseball as baseball's starting and pivot whatever money I've made selling my baseball into basketball, because that's going to be the playoffs coming. And then as the playoffs, I'm going to pivot out of basketball and maybe start buying quarterbacks, because then I want to have that for the run up when preseason football starts, and then sell out before. It really is an interesting thing, because this is the difference between people who came in. I'm going to start a fund I'm going to collect $1 million and I'm going to buy $1 million worth of cards and I'm going to watch it go up. Well,
Mhm.
you can't. It's the difference between active and passive,
Yes.
investing. And
Mhm.
you are clearly active. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah,
So,
and I think if people, that's why I do this show with you. It's hopefully to create a better foundation for people that are getting in, because I know it's tougher now. It's not like years ago you could come in and buy $1,000 card and hopefully it will turn 3,000 in 2 months. No, it's a little bit different now. You need to plan a little bit better and learn what you're collecting too. So when is the time to buy? And it becomes very easy, to be honest with you. I'm
well, I
obviously.
mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, people could have gone to the
Mhm,
table you went to and picked up that Mookie Betts for $500 that you ultimately sold for $1,000 in the same weekend. Like
mhm,
those deals are there. You found them. Like you've come on the show today and said this was what I had to do,
mhm,
and I had some success going to a table, buying it at a fair price. The dealer was happy to take it and move their
mhm.
money into something else. I bring it on my table, and I was able to sell it to somebody else.
Yep,
And so it's there. You just have to know what you're buying and know what to
exactly.
get into and that kind of
You
stuff.
you just you just gotta know. I mean, it takes a little. You just need to research a little bit more and work a little harder on it. We can't just sit there and like, oh, this is what I brought and that's it. I mean, to me, buying is half the battle. So
There you go. You also have to sell. It's
yeah,
always fun. This is Black Jaded Wolf, Uncaged. Love these shows. Our eighth one of these. Can't believe we've already done 8.
I know, right?
We're getting applause. Here we got applause coming from the live studio audience. I love it. So we'll be back in a couple weeks. I mean, it might take a little while longer because it doesn't look like there's going to be any kind of crazy shows. I might drag Sharon to like a trade night or a bleaker night or something, and then we can do like a review
Yeah, let's
of a
do it.
bleaker trade night or something like that. That way
We'll,
we have
we'll
a
do
show for
a
you guys.
impromptu type of thing.
Yeah. Or we could just go to a card store and open up a bunch of wax and
Unless you
try
want to
them.
come to California with me with PSA and
Maybe we'll see. I like California. It's cold here. It'd be nice to
Yeah.
go and get some. Where it's warmer. 100%. I don't know. I think the next travel for me is probably in March for Mint.
Yep.
But well, maybe, maybe. Thanks everybody. Thanks Sharon. This was fun.
Bye.
With nearly 40 years as the most trusted resource for collectors, dating back to the first Beckett magazine in 1984. Beckett has been the brand that bridges generations of the hobby. We're happy to be partnering with Beckett and look forward to keeping you all updated on the big things happening at the company in 2023. Beckett, it's the name you know and the name you can trust.